So I'm Ago. I'm from Radio Flyer. Let's get to the next slide. There we go. Hey, I'm Ago. I'm from Radio Flyer. I'm a product development engineer, and I'm really excited to share a little bit about what Radio Flyer does and what I do for Radio Flyer and how we integrate 3D printing into our workflow. So Radio Flyer is Chicago-based. We've been family-owned since 1917. And in addition to housing the world's largest wagon, our headquarters in Chicago houses all of our engineering, all of our design, all of our prototyping. So it's all under one roof, and that roof includes our Formlabs machines. So you may know Radio Flyer as the Little Red Wagon Company, but we do a lot more than that today. We have thrilling go-karts, our core line of wagons, our premium scooters and trikes, and most recently we launched our e-bikes, which we'll talk to Tom about a little bit later. But all of this is with a focus on serving the whole family while staying true to our heritage. So my role is, like I said, as a product development engineer. I'm responsible for taking projects from the concept stage through development and through production. So for us, all of our projects begin as a collaboration between our designers, our design researchers, and our engineers. And we very quickly iterate with rough form studies and benchtop prototypes. And then as projects are green-lit, we're building more high fidelity, iterating quickly, ideating on feature set, and really just drilling down on what is the product and how is it going to serve a consumer need. And again, 3D printing very deeply woven through that process. And even as we go further down this process, we build what we call roadshow prototypes, which are fully production intent. They look the part, they feel the part, they function the part. 3D prints that we show to our retailers to gain buy-in for store placement. And these are really powerful prototypes. So really excited to use the Formlabs machines in that process. And in addition to my roles as an engineer, I also serve as our internal advocate and ambassador for 3D printing. So I'm responsible for sourcing and bringing on board new machines, new materials, new technologies, and sharing that with the team and educating the team. So in the case of Fuse, we did that by sourcing that machine collaborating with Formlabs and really understanding how the materials that Fuse could produce lined up with our production materials. And what that did for us is it helped build confidence with our team to understand, here's the aesthetic capabilities of this machine, here's how durable the parts are, here's what we can do with it, and all the capabilities of that machine. And that really sold the machine in for us and was really impactful. So go back one. So I've got a couple examples here of what we've done with our Formlabs machines and how that process was really strengthened by 3D printing. So the first is our Flyer glider scooters. These are our premium lean to steer scooters. And what's really unique about these is they break down into a really small box for sustainability reasons. So what that means is it was really easy to print these all in one go on our Formlabs machines. So the products you see there are fully 3D printed scooters. They were fully operational. We did QA testing with it, we did treadmill testing, we did Flyer take-home testing, and learned a lot before we had to invest in tooling. So that was incredibly powerful and something we could not necessarily have done in-house before without engaging with a CNC shop or external out-of-house resource. The second one in the middle is an engineering development for our first pneumatic air-tired stroller wagon. So we used Tough 1500 to print that rim for the first time and validate it against our internal overinflation testing. We did ride testing with it, treadmill testing, and that really, again, helped us build that confidence we needed before we opened production tooling. And again, really impactful, very powerful use of 3D printing in our workflow. And then the third one is one of those design studies that I talked about where we were revisiting the shape, the size, the form of our footrests on our stroller trikes. So we went to our kind of daycare partner and tested dozens of footrests, shapes, and sizes with different kids of different ages to really drill down on what was going to be the best for that user. So that was really interesting and a great use case of very quick iterations on form to execute. So that's all I have for you today. If any of you are interested in learning more about any of those projects or how we use it in our workflow, please come up and talk to me. I love talking about my work. So yeah, thank you all, and off to the next presenter.
Yeah, hello everybody. First of all, thank you for having me. Great event. I'm so happy that this event is actually in person, so I don't run into that problem of like, can you see my screen? Do I have unmuted myself? So, yeah. Quickly to my person, my name is Matthias Schulz. I do work for Brose. Brose is a large family-owned global automotive supplier and e-bike supplier. So, yeah. Yeah, I do work for Brose since 2008, so you guys don't have to do the math, right? At this point, I'm bleeding Brose red, right? I do work in the seed prototype division. This is also where we host additive technology for our North America region, and we have 2 headquarters for additive technology. I will elaborate a little bit later to that. Yeah, to the automotive industry, right? You guys see it in the media, right? We're redefining ourselves right now. New means basically we have EV cars coming in more and more. There are new OEMs coming into the market. So all those really like leverage the development times, right? So our struggles right now that we face is that we have to reduce the development times drastically, right? Therefore, additive technology is truly like a game changer for us, right? In many sort of shapes of ways. So. Yeah, what you can see over here on the screen actually is we definitely leverage like all different technologies on additive technology. We do use parts for serial production, like on this side over here you can see like a climate compressor that we print for serial production, or kinematic levers out of metal, right? But we certainly do as well like combinations out of those, right? Which is like a motor connector over here that you can see, which is SLS printed, right? And then of course we use SLA technology as well. Yeah, for us very important is that we find ways to combine those technologies and make them more reliable for serial production. So we really wanted to get out of this one piece or prototype builds, right? Those are very important for us certainly, but serial production is really like where we see the most gains, right? Yeah, I do have later another speech where I wanted to get a little bit more in detail, especially on what are the problems that we face getting there, right? And how did we overcome those, right? I think if we work together as a community, it helps all of us, right? So yeah, see this video more as like a teaser for the next one coming up, right? Yeah, I love talking, so yeah, feel free to approach me, right? There's a QR code. Usually everybody tells you get your phone away. I'm asking you now to get it out there, scan that code, right? In case you want to connect, right? Feel free. And then yeah, we can chat a little bit, or you listen to the presentation later, right? Yeah, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here today. My name is Milos Markovic. I'm Director of CAD-CAM and Implantology at Aurora Digital Technology Center in Wappingers Falls, New York. Let's see. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's go back. So we're a large dental manufacturer. So what we do is we manufacture dental prostheses for laboratories and dentists across the United States. And so we have about 27 employees. We're rapidly growing. Our goal is to be the new Amazon of dentistry. We produce all of our restoratives in 3 to 5 days, and it's a very competitive market. For a little bit of context is we utilize, for years, we've utilized CNC milling to sort of like bridge that gap in manufacturing. Dentistry was a very antiquated industry, if you want to think of it in those terms, especially dental manufacturing for many, many decades. We used to rely on things like physical impressions. They used to be a compound that would go in a patient's mouth to capture the data. Then we would have to utilize stones. They used to have a lot of inherent inaccuracies with expansion and contraction. It used to be a very messy process. We used to have people grinding all the time. We cast metal using centrifugal forces, using the lost wax casting techniques, burnout ovens, a lot of hand pieces grinding, dust being everywhere. And so it wasn't up until 12 years ago that the industry started to change, where instead of taking all these physical impressions, we started to take intraoral scans. And those scans allowed us to start to digitize dentistry, really change the industry as a whole. Exceptional accuracy and redundancy that we have from digital scanning, now we were able to think a little differently about how we're going to produce our parts. And so 3D printing wasn't really active at the time. We're talking about 10, 12 years ago, but CNC was really starting to ramp up. However, there were a lot of limitations within CNC milling. And so as soon as 3D printing came onto the market, we jumped in right away. I was a Form 1 Plus user, a Form 2, a Form 3B, and today we're proud to say that we're using 4 and 4L in a very significant way. So we were able, this is our print room, this is our print shop. As you can see, we utilize printers from all different companies. We're pretty agnostic when it comes to brands. We use what works. And for years, we keep trying out different brands, but we keep coming back to Formlabs. And there's a reason for that. It allowed the company as a whole evolved in terms of materials, in terms of accuracy, in terms of reliability. And so the 4L was really what made a difference. And we've been using it for a while and doing some amazing work. So that's our print shop. We have a command station. We kind of like send all different jobs to different printers. They all have different specialties. But this unit has been the most versatile for us. And instead of seeing that messy room with lots of plaster and lots of dust and total chaos, this is our station now. We have a giant build platform, which in the dental industry is a big deal. We turn a huge volume of models. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of cases every day. So we really need a machine that can produce large volumes reliably and consistently. Speed is important, but we would rather have that consistency and accuracy that we're actually getting right now for the 4L. So here we can set up to 30 different models in one run, and especially with the gray resin, we're done within 20 minutes. It's really exceptional. So this allowed us to change the dental industry that used to rely on that accuracy, you see on the left, with lots of porosities, bubbles, expansion, that ranges anywhere from 50 to 140 microns, which is just not acceptable. Dentistry is a very precise industry. We deal with very small tolerances, to getting something like this, a nice, crisp, precision model resin that we're able to make out all the finest details, and we're able to replicate over and over and over again. In implant restorative dentistry, we deal, like I said, very small tolerances, usually 0.01 millimeters. That's the space that we work with. Here you can see we try to bridge some of that gap with CNC milling. But again, the CNC mills have a lot of limitations with how many degrees a certain arm can move. XYZ axis have very definitive limitations. And so 3D printing allows us to bridge that gap and very quickly execute some of the planning that we do. Just to finish off, I want to give you an example of how we actually change patients' lives. This was a patient that had severe tooth loss. There was implant placement right there. So she really needed to see what she can look like. And this used to take many days and many weeks to be able to draft, to create a product, usually polymethyl methacrylate on a CNC mill, a lot of CAD design, or a lot of manual manufacturing, to just give her an example of a temporary restoration that she could go home with and a prototype that we can verify before the final restorative. Now, she can come in, she gets scanned, and we do a quick CAD design. You can see right there on the left, move all the screw channels, and just within an hour, she can get a prototype of her future restorative, and the best part about it, she can go with it to her home, and she can wear it for several weeks and really give us the ability to like change her life on the fly. So this is really the beauty of 3D printed technology, what it has done to dentistry today. It really allowed us to change people's lives in a very significant way using reliable and consistent 3D printing technology that we get from Formlabs. And so if you have any other questions about dentistry, and just like my other colleagues, I like talking about my work as well, come over and we can talk more about it. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Todd Goldstein. I work for a health system in New York called Northwell Health. We go from Staten Island to the Hamptons, up now until Connecticut. It's like soon to be 30 hospitals, I don't know, 100,000 employees, pretty large place. And I run the single 3D printing lab that we have for the whole health system. So we get to print anatomical models, cutting guides, we do some dental work, which you'll see, and we also help prototype multiple different devices that our doctors come up with, whether it's they come in with something on a piece of paper. We had one doctor who comes and whittled something out of wood in his garage and said, hey, can you make this into a medical device? And now we've created it and it's being licensed out. So we go lots of different areas that we're operating in. We couldn't do it without 3D printing, and I wouldn't have a job without 3D printing, so thank you, Max. But I'll show, so for example, some of the things that we're doing, no way you're gonna mill this out. So this is a patient that had these are zygomatic implants, so this would actually merge with the previous speaker's prosthetics that they're making for dentistry. We didn't plan this, and there's no business being done here, but this is a doctor training on a model. We're able to make the patient multiple times. They can train the residents, the medical students, whoever wants can actually practice on the case before they actually go into the operating room. And so these are called zygomatic implants, and they can mount dentures to it. And so you have a way to actually train ahead of time, which you wouldn't be able to do this unless maybe you want to use Cadaver Lab or some sort of saw bone models, and then they're going to be different than what you're actually seeing. So it's a nice way to practice and train on the surgeries. And for me, when I started doing this, I feel like a dinosaur now. We started with 2016 doing these types of work, where the focus would turn from the training model to the actual patient. It was obviously they were working on when I say patient, I mean like a sawbone or something, not an actual person in the operating room. But the focus would change from the computer screen to the sawbones to the actual 3D model, and then all of the clinicians were focused on this model because that's what they're going to see when they're actually in the operating room. So it changes the way you educate. So technology is actually helping with this, and we've done some studies, and it's a great outcome. And I'm in a very highly regulated area. The parts that we make have to be perfect every single time, and they have to be done quickly, because if we have someone who comes into the emergency room and we need the part within 24 hours, you couldn't do this with standard manufacturing. You couldn't make molds, pour it up, do that kind of stuff. So we have really rapid turnaround time with basically production-ready parts. Let's see. So we've done studies where you can actually educate the patient on what's going on with them. So here is a breast cancer study where how can you really get informed consent about a procedure without understanding it? I'm gonna make an assumption that anyone in the room here or online is not an expert in reading x-rays, MRIs, PET scans, et cetera. And if a doctor shows you on the screen, hey, this is what you have, it may not click as much as if you show a model in multicolors and be like, this is your body, this is what's happening, this is what we're gonna do, and they can really show what's happening. And it gives a better understanding of informed consent of what's actually going to happen in the procedure that you're doing. Whether it's going to be something like this with a breast cancer patient, or a brain tumor that the doctor can open up the model, show exactly what's going to happen, and go from there. So like this is multiple different types of materials that are being used. It also can be a nice Halloween decoration when you're done with it. But we have here flexible materials, we have hard materials, and we're able to assemble everything with really good margins, showing the patient what's actually going to happen, but then also doing training. Whether it's this or some sort of spinal tumor. And so these are really complex surgeries, complex areas. And even though we won't talk about the material that starts with an F and ends in an M here in the middle of that, but there's Formlabs materials mixed in there too. So we really sit down and try to make the perfect piece of anatomy for our doctors to train on, and we don't have the time or can run the risk of not having being perfect every single time off the printer in very quick turnaround times. We've been customers for Formlabs for a very long time. We have, I'm going to make an assumption now, probably the only form cell, if anyone remembers that, still running. So we have Form 2s, 3s, the 3BL, 4L, Fuse. I don't know if there's any other products left, but we have them all. We make molds for our CNC machines. For our injection molding machines, we do have a CNC machine where we actually CNC some of the printed parts if we need to make slight adjustments, which is very rare. And we realistically use this Formlabs equipment as our workhorse, not only for emergent cases that have to be perfect right off the bat. If you get like a case comes in and you have 24-hour turnaround, how do we get a device that is ready to go into the operating room in that short of time? Like, it's nice to be able to iterate, change, design, but we don't have that luxury. Like I said, being in a highly regulated environment, we need the materials to be certified. We need the workflow to be validated. We need the printers to work on time, every time. Hopefully no errors, no failed prints. We don't get those luxuries. So it's high risk, high reward, right? We get to really see the outcome of our patients right away. It's not like we're talking with the fireside chat where it takes 15 years for a plane to take off, a new design. We don't get that. It's, Friday someone comes into the emergency room, Monday they're being operated on, remote start the print, pray it works, come in on Monday, hand it off, and we can actually treat some patients. We use this now not only just for models, but we have devices that are basically prototype ready and commercialized. We send them out into the operating room. We send them into the hospitals. We have, devices that are certified or approved, by the FDA that are commercializable, whether it's prosthetic accessories. Like I said, we do some dental work, medical devices that we prototype and then actually bring out into the clinic, and they're commercialized. So without 3D printing, there really would not be this whole process, especially as we support people who, are healthcare providers. And so, they need their equipment ASAP. And we learned this during COVID that supply chain issues can really happen. And we were one of the hospitals, along with partners at USF in Tampa, to produce COVID swabs. So we took our form cell running Form 2s, was printing 365 days a year, basically, making nasal swabs. If everyone remembers having them shoved into the back of their nose, like not the tip here, like literally touching the back of your brain. We ended up printing like 200,000 of those, quality controlling, sterilizing, and deploying them across our network in New York. I think someone here at Formlabs was keeping count of how much they've sold. I think it was like 100 million, equivalent of 100 million swabs around the world. So my little lab with our partners in Florida managed to deploy a product, do benchtop testing, clinical trial, deploy it all within a matter of a month to help with a supply chain issue. So the power of 3D printing this locally and around the world was pretty amazing. You create the file, validate it, send it out to whoever has the correct printers and protocols, and they can start deploying it in need to, whether it's here in the US or Singapore and any other continent. I'm also going to be around all day if anyone has questions about working in the medical field. Please let me know. Thank you.